basically what this is I have a sheet of bubble wrap Mylar. It's nothing but bubble wrap. As you can see, it's bubble wrap with a sheet of reflective Mylar on the side, glued on one side. You can buy this at any local hardware store. You can get it at your whatever local hardware store. But for anybody that's not familiar with it, what it basically does is this is the same thing they make like the space blankets, emergency blankets. It reflects any heat source. It reflects your body heat back against you or anything like that. Well, what I've done here is I've taken this stuff and basically I doubled it over. I cut two pieces to fit around this 1 liter Nalgene bottle. And then I basically, once you cut it, I put the two pieces on top of one another like that, so you have reflective on both sides. Okay, so one piece is on top of the other one. I wrapped it around this bottle, left enough room on the bottom to be able to fold it under like a Christmas present. And once I had it cut to fit around the bottle, folded in the bottom, then I simply took duct tape and duct taped it up. It's just, and this is what you have as the end result. It's just a cheap insulator, and as you'll notice, I have these square holes randomly cut around it, and I'll explain what that's for. But basically, as you can see, I just made it to fit so you could stick the bottle inside of it. And then I take that bag and I stick this inside the bag, cinch it up. I only do that so I can hang it at the end of my hammock. I can take this, tie a piece of paracord to it once it's cinched up, hang it down inside my hammock, and put my feet on it or whatever. Okay, well, what happens with this is when you take this, let's say you come into camp. Here's a common occurrence with me. I usually carry 2 of these bottles. I have one in my backpack full, and I have one strapped on my backpack strap, and I'm drinking on it all day. Well, what happens is when you get in at camp at night, you have 2 of these bottles. Usually for me, I have 2 of these bottles empty. So I go to my nearest water source, take my filter, whatever kind of filter I'm using. Most times it's MSR Mini Works, but screw it on here and I fill these bottles up with water. Okay, well, I'm a double treater. If I filter and I'm going to drink, I treat it with tablets. If I got time to store it, don't want to waste a tablet, I'll boil it. That's just me. I always think 2's better than 1. I know it's a little overkill. Some people say it's overkill, but it just gives me a feeling of reassurance that there's nothing wrong with water. But anyway, so what I do is at night when I come into camp, I take the water bottle, I filter 1 liter of water in it. I'll take the water, pour it in my pot, bring it to a boil, take this, stick it back in here, pour the boiling water back inside of the bottle, put it in the bag, and then I got a hot water source, a source of heat for most of the night. Sometimes almost all night, but for most of the night, I have a hot water source that's generating heat. And by the time the morning gets there, I have a bottle of water in around either my tent or my hammock that's ready for me to use to cook with. The secret to this thing, and the reason I cut these holes in there, is because underneath this duct tape is, like I said, it's a reflective side of this Mylar pointing outward to insulate and block anything from the outside, and there's a layer pointing inward on the inside. So what it's doing is reflecting all of that heat back into this bottle. So that's why it stays hot and keeps it hot for so long. But the reason these holes are here is because by doing that, it forces that heat to come out of these holes, which almost is like a little radiator. It generates heat's pouring out of these holes. As it stands right now, the last test I did with this, I put boiling water in the bottle, in the bag, hung the bag outside in 40, 42 to 51 degree weather. Let it hang outside for 4 hours, went back, and it was still warm. I mean, it was considerably warm to the touch. I mean, I could warm my hands on it. If I put it inside of a sleeping bag, it would generate enough heat to keep me warm. So it's really worked out well. And I know it doesn't look the best, but I mean, it was cheap. Cost me literally nothing to make, and it works great. If you like this video and want to see more, as always, subscribe. Thanks.